What's up, YouTube? This is Prof Sales.
And Just Ask Kaaren.
And we're coming to you live from the warehouse today. And we want to talk to you about your average selling price on eBay and how maybe you can raise that.
Because, you know, we want to sell our thingies for as much as possible, right?
Who here doesn't want to sell our thingies for as much as possible?
Well, and it's actually a little bit more than as much as possible.
As much as practical, I guess, right?
Yes.
In the amount of time. So we're glad you guys joined us. This is a channel that's about being an entrepreneur, selling on eBay, Amazon, e-commerce platforms, your mindset staying positive, and just having a great community here around all those things.
Always honest, sometimes disorganized, and rarely flying by the seat of our pants, but it is what it is. Here we are, and away we go.
And today we are not flying by the seat of our pants. We have an agenda.
Well, I have labels.
True story. Yeah, true story. We printed off our show notes, so to speak.
I like how you said we.
We printed them off. I printed them off, and apparently there was a label in the printer. I think she sabotaged my label. She likes to waste labels and tape.
All right, so here. All right. So since we've been here, actually, since that printer has been here, how many times have I put paper in it?
I haven't been here all the time to watch.
0. So there's that.
But anyway, it's printed on a label. So we wasted a nice page of labels.
So February is almost over, but it's already in the red because of one label page.
It is. It's just over. Like now our overhead has just gone through the roof because we have a label that got wasted. But I guess we'll have to print a sheet of paper and use it as a label and cut it just to make up for it.
And I used extra tape on purpose today. Let's just be honest.
She did. She taped for hours. It seemed like just 5 or 6 packages, whatever it was.
6 packages require 6.
Actually, it wasn't even that many. It was like 3 that actually required tape.
And there's one that has to go overseas.
That's true. That's true.
And you know, you put like one that like, could you imagine if you Frankenboxed like your little craft paper thingy that you did?
It would have been bad. You did a good job. You used an adequate amount of tape.
So one thing that we do around here is we try to capitalize on each other's strengths. And if I'm going to be in charge of shipping, I'm going to be in charge of shipping.
She's in charge of shipping. She wasn't happy about it this morning, though.
Why not?
I don't know why you weren't. It had nothing to do with me.
It never does.
But we had some interesting things to ship. Just things that were a little bit too big for the boxes we had. So we had to just make it work.
Yeah. And that 1095 priority mailing box that we talked about last show, they haven't arrived yet.
Right.
And it's going to be a game changer because we had to ship some Nikes that were in their box, and it was a little bit bigger than that 1092 could manage. So I can't wait for those to get here. That's going to be, and we are going to make a video about it and use our pizza cutter scorer to demonstrate how easy it is. But it's, yeah, we're really enjoying.
That's right. We need a pizza cutter, don't we?
Yeah. Well, you can get an actual scoring tool.
A scoring tool, if you're scoring along at home.
But, you know, since this is the time when people filter in and we kind of talk about all kind of things, rugby is now 4-0. Thank you very much.
There we go.
Although their coaches tell them to approach every game as if they are 0-0. But Friday was another night of awesomeness.
Blowing teams out. They need to play New Zealand next.
You know, maybe.
Probably a bad idea.
So anyway.
But yeah, so let's talk today. We're glad you're here. There's a live show going. So if you want to leave a question or comment, you can type it in the chat box. We'd love to hear it. We'll do our best to answer it. And if not, you can leave a question or comment after the show post. And look down below where Kaaren is pointing in the description. You can find all kinds of helpful links, including a lot of our gear that we use. So that's pretty cool because that way, you know, like if, you know, hey, what's that tape dispenser? See what I did there? Or, hey, what's that? What's that diamond label printer using? It's down below. You can check out the links for that. All right. So let's talk about ASP, which is not a snake in Africa.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Ah, that was good, wasn't it? The horrible asp. No, an asp stands for ASP, stands for average selling price. So that just means if you added up this price, all of the things that you sold, and divide it by the number of things you sold, that would give you your average selling price. So if you sold, you know, $100 worth of items and it was 10 items, 100 divided by 10 is 10. So your average selling price would be $10. Just to clarify terms, because we use these terms and people sometimes go, what do you mean that? Oh, well.
And some of them are real terms, real abbreviations, and some of them we make up ourselves. So it's kind of important to differentiate, right?
Yes. And someone already told me, be careful of my pronunciation.
Yeah. P on the
Asp.
P. And one of our goals for 2018 was personally, or our businessally,
sure.
Was to raise that ASAP. That was to raise that ASP ASAP.
All right. So who here, by a virtual show of hands, you can also answer this after in the chat, in the comments, who has an average selling price of $20 or less? Just type the word 20 in the chat box. Just type 20 or less. Your average selling price is that. And don't count shipping in that. Like, shipping should be a wash for you, honestly. So like if you're including free shipping and all that, and your average selling price 20, obviously you're below that. So we see some people coming in at $20. All right. And 20 is probably a common number for a lot of clothing resellers and so on. Who, and keep the 20s coming if you're at 20, but also how about if you're between 20 and 30, put 30 in the box. So we'll just see if anybody is above 30 or between 20 and $30. And that's about where we fall. We're just a bit over 20 last year was our average selling price. Because when you're selling things like jeans and shoes, not so much shoes, but jeans and clothing, it might be around that. And if anybody is over 30, just type 30 plus. You know, if you want to type what it is, 40 or 50 or whatever it is, I'd be curious to see. And we see at least 8 or 9 people came in at 20. Somebody had 28, 30. Oh. Here's some more 30s. So people between 20 and 30. So lots of people are, you know, there's like almost 60 people watching. And so we've probably seen what, maybe 15 or 20 people respond so far.
Yep.
There's one for 45.
Yep.
Sam is a 30 plus, he says. Wes is above 30 as well. So there's some above 30. And we're not going to keep going up because just, you know, it takes forever to hear all these. But the average selling price of your items, all right, let me just say it this way. This is what I found over the last few years. And it's a struggle for people to push up that average selling price. And it's a struggle because the types of things we source, most of us that are, especially if you're a clothing reseller, a lot of them just don't sell for a high amount. Like they will, like there'll be some outliers, you know, like if 100 of them sold, maybe 5 of them sold for $30 or $40 or $50. But then there's a whole big slug of them, you know, 50, 60 of them that sold in kind of the range people in the chat are like 15, $20, $18, $22, somewhere in that range, especially if you're doing clothing. So it's hard to go source Ben's clothing, thrifted clothing, estate sale clothing, and get it in quantity. And because you kind of need that, and sell it for over $30.
Right. And Just 10, you're speaking of outliers, mentioned that he just or she sold a bunch of somethings for $5. It was still quantity, but that brought the average down, of course. And we run into that all the time.
And don't get us wrong. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that model. You can sell the heck out of $20 items, $25 items. I mean, you can sell thousands and thousands of those a year, but you do have to source thousands and thousands. You have to look through tens of thousands, probably. You have to photograph thousands. You have to pack and ship thousands. I mean, it all sort of scales with that, right? If you're gonna sell a $20 item and you sell 1,000 of them, well, that's 20 grand. But that required you to source at least 1,000. Probably required you to source more than that, right? So you have all those sort of things pushing on you, and your average selling price doesn't go up because it is your average, right? And you're still sourcing these items that are at lower price, and you just got to get a lot of them. And the struggle so many of us have, I think, in the reselling community, and we've had it too, and we still struggle with it, is you just don't have enough time.
Right. And I think the biggie for us when we were looking at our goals for 2018 was that no matter what we list, it takes about the same amount of time to list it, right?
It does. That's right.
It's not like you can wave a magic wand. I know there's some variation, but it's not like you can wave a magic wand and maybe this item magically you list in 5 seconds, but this one's going to take you a half an hour. You know what I mean? So we found that on average, we were taking about the same amount of time to list. So why not, since the one thing we do have the same amount of, we can't buy more unless we pay somebody, that's a whole nother show, is time. So why not make our time the most valuable, right? So if we're going to list something, let's try to list things a little bit more expensive. Let's try to source quantity items. You know what I mean? Let's try to sort of tweak our time. And so when we started talking about average selling price and how that was one of our goals to raise it, that played a factor in that.
It does.
Decision.
It does. And Good Use Good says, I tend not to look at my ASP as a whole. I'm more interested in my return on investment, to be honest, which is important. You know, obviously how much you make on it as an investment, because you're putting money into it to buy it, right? You're sourcing it, you're spending sourcing dollars. That's important. But even that model breaks down at a certain level, because suppose you could buy every item for $1 and sell it for $3. Well, that's, you know, a 200% return on investment, right? I mean, it's an amazing, or technically 300, I guess, but you're getting 200% more. That's an amazing return on investment, but it's only $3. So your time is worth something in there. And to just make $2 on it, even you have to flip tremendous volume. And if you're having to spend a lot of time to make that $2 every time, that really doesn't make much sense. So there's got to be some balancing between the return investment, how many actual dollars you're making, how much time you're putting into it. Whereas if I say to you, hey, spend $100 and make $300, well, now you're making $200 on each one of those. You could spend a decent amount of time on that item to find it, to source it, to list it, to photo it. If you knew you were going to clear $200 on it, you could spend a decent amount of time, right? I mean, this just all makes sort of common sense. But we have found that, you know, as you guys know, we've gotten involved in this consignment part of the business, but consignment allows you, it almost demands you to choose higher average selling price items. Like we talked about this last show. Like a guy came to us and said, hey, I'm thinking about shipping these jeans to you guys so you can consign them. And we had to tell him it didn't make sense.
No, it didn't, because it was, and for lots of reasons. So we're trying to work with him on a way that he can just bulk sell them locally, or ship them, sell them in one lot and ship them to somebody that way. And sell them, because it doesn't make sense. So
some people are asking how they can find their average selling price. And it's pretty simple, really. eBay has made it simple with a lot of the reports. If you look at, like, let's say you're in Seller Hub and you just look at your number of transactions, say over last month, you know, over in January, and you look at how many items sold, and then just divide. You can divide it. I mean, you can just pull out the calculator if you want, or if you're keeping track of it, you know, some other way with a spreadsheet or something, that can do it for you really, really simply. And you can always kind of know what your average selling price was. Now, if you're including shipping, not including shipping, what your fees were, I mean, those things all play a role too. But if you just want to know the number, like I sold $2,000 worth of items and I sold 100 items, well, that's a $20, you know, average selling price. 2,000 divided by 100, right? So. Oh, that's funny. Right. Krillin says, remember, thanks for the super chat, Rob. Says, remember, you can't take return on investment to your bank. That's true. That's true. And the point is you have to have the actual dollars. So we need to have a higher ASP though, because because if you're not getting the full selling price for your item, then you've got to make it worth your time, right? So you have to have a higher selling price. I mean, if we were selling $10 items to people for consignment, it wouldn't make any sense, because we wouldn't be making any profit. So we have to have a higher average selling price. But I would remind you guys too that, and I wrote this down, is one higher average selling price listed item might be worth 2 lower priced. It's half the time. Now, I know some people are going to say it's half the photos, potentially. It's half the listing amount. Some people are going to say, you know, Kaaren, won't it take longer to sell?
Maybe.
Right, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does a double priced item compared to your normal ASP always take longer to sell? What do you guys think in the chat? If your ASP is 20 and you were sourcing and selling only average selling price items of 40, do you really think they would take twice as long to sell? Because if they sell quicker than that, you win, assuming you can get them for the same price. Or even if you pay double the price, you still break even, or
well, I think you
still win.
Yeah, you still win. You still win, but you just win quicker.
I like the way you said that. You're like, you just win quicker.
That's
Krillin points out too that PayPal tracks average selling price, which is exactly true. They do. So that's another way you can find it. You can find it all kinds of different ways. But
I can't see a thing.
You know, suppose like I came up with this example. Like suppose for a lot of you guys who are selling $20 and $30 items, your net from that item is $10. Let's just say after your cost of goods and selling costs. We're not talking about overhead or taxes here, because that's different for everybody to some degree. But let's say your net is $10 an item. You still, I mean, that's pretty good, right? If you can turn 10 of those, you make $100. If you can turn 100 of those, you make $1,000. But the problem is you still have to go get that item, sift through hundreds of items sometimes to find that one. Like you have to, like how long does it take you to find an item? That has to factor into the calculus, right? That has to factor into the equation. How long is it going to take you to find the $10 item? I think for jeans, which you can sell jeans that will make $10 for you all day long and more. But $10 is kind of like the bottom of that. But you're going to have to look through. How many pair do you have to look through before you find one that would sell for that you make $10 on, Kaaren?
I mean, it varies. We've even streamlined our own model now,
right?
So we're not even pulling the same. I don't know, a couple minutes.
Right, but how many items do you think? 10, 20, 25?
At least 30.
So Kaarens is 30. Yeah, I don't think that's crazy, that number at all. So you got to look through 30 to find one that'll sell for $10. And you still haven't listed it yet. You still got to go home, list it, photograph it, all that good stuff.
Well, it's not selling for more than $10.
Right. It's making $10. It's making $10. Excuse me. So, and
what was it?
That was a higher average selling price item.
Oh, nice.
But
Cha-ching.
So for the reality is to keep finding those $10 items. I mean, it's like, can you turn enough time? Can you use it? Do you have enough time to do it? And the answer for a lot of people is they don't. That's why I always advise people get in a niche, because if you get in a niche, you can go quickly. Like you said, you can streamline certain things. You don't have to go in there and constantly see the whole store every time you go in, which I think is very hard for most people to do.
Well, it's a little overwhelming, especially when you just get started too. You know, there's this, I'm sure new resellers feel the pressure of, you know, you hear a lot of people that have been doing it for a while warning against, you know, leaving money on the shelf or leaving money on the rack or.
Right. We've talked about that. You're going to leave money on the shelf, leave money on the rack. Some other people are saying, somebody said they tried consignment, but it ended up being easier to buy from a guy in bulk. Well, that makes sense. Buying is always an option when you're consigning with someone too, because you could buy the items. Obviously, you're going to buy them really cheap. The Seam Store says a higher priced item may bring more buyers to the store who end up buying something else, even if they don't pop on the big ticket item. That's true, for sure. Let's see. I find the $25 to $50 selling price is great. No one thinks about spending that money. You have the couple $100 items you sit sometimes. Not everyone has the bankroll right off. Yeah, that's true. No question.
And we're actually running into that, something we're going to talk about in a little bit. Something that we put up that we're kind of, the price is higher and we're getting responses like, well, if I can sell this, then I can buy your that. Or do you want to trade me your this for my that? That one was really funny, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I can tell you guys, like, from everything I've learned just in the very short time we've been in this consignment deal, there's no shortage of people looking to consign. There's no shortage of people. Now, that brings up, you know, my favorite word when it comes to business. Do you know what my favorite word is?
No. What?
You just said it.
I I know. When I
She
said
said
it,
it again, but a different no.
When I said it, I knew the word no.
No, because
just say no.
Saying no is the key to profitability. Mm-hmm. It really is, because you don't have to consign everything that somebody gives you. And spreadsheet, that's a good guess, Adam. That would be my second. But no is my favorite word, because just like when you're in a store sourcing something, you say no to most of the things in there. Mm-hmm. You're not saying it out loud, but you're saying it with your actions. Like, nope, can't get that. Nope, doesn't make sense. Nope, not enough profit, has a defect, whatever. I mean, no is the most powerful word you have as a business owner, because it keeps you out of so many bad deals that you would get into.
Well, and think about it, like, especially we run into all the time with newer resellers, and even some people that have been doing it for years. If you hadn't said no to all the things you wished or hoped or thought you would sell at some point, maybe that corner in the pile wouldn't be nearly as high as it is. Right?
Oh, that's a good point.
And that's not a criticism, but it becomes an issue. It becomes a burden, a hurdle, challenge for people. And so using some restraint, using the just say no, actually makes a big impact on your, I will concur on this one.
Yeah. That
it sounds a little counterintuitive perhaps at first, but stay with us. Being able to say no can make a difference. And Illinois Picker, profit is one of our favorites as well.
Well, of course, for sure.
But favorite two words added on is self-control, and that plays a
the Seam Store said, had a guy drop off a truckload last summer. He drove 5 hours, and I sent him back with all of it. True story. Mm-hmm. I mean, because the reality is, if it's not a good deal, you don't have to feel sorry for somebody. And, I mean, and sometimes people misrepresent things, or they bring you stuff that's junk, so you don't have to sell it. And we have found, here's kind of the big takeaway we've already found from this very short time we've been in consignment, but I don't see any reason why this is going to change, because it's kind of our model. I just told you guys, our average selling price last year in 2017 was just a little bit over $20. That does not include shipping. Shipping is a wash in the way we charge for it. The average selling price for the consigned items that we have sold so far is over $80. Now, granted, we're not getting all that because we have a fee and we have to share with our consignor. But I mean, how much clearer does it have to be to say that, like, that's a good model? Like, when we can pick the items that we know will sell for over that, and I actually think it's going to go higher. Mm-hmm. That's going to go higher over time, because we've decided, like, we're just going to consign items that sell for enough to make it worth it, and everything else we'll come up with other solutions for. So I couldn't be happier about that. And the item, it's funny because the item that just sold was actually below that, but it was still like way higher than our average selling price from last year. Mm-hmm. And it was a consigned item. But guys, like, when you push an ASP up to that level, like, so many things get easier, because now, like, if I tell Kaaren, hey, Kaaren, can you photograph this item for me, and we're going to make $80 on it, or that's what it's going to sell for, like, that's the equivalent of 4 $20 items. Mm-hmm. It's going to take you 1/4 of the time. Mm-hmm. It's 1/4 of the time for me to list it. It's 1/4 of the space for us to do it. And now all of a sudden, like, you have these sales coming in, and they're going to come in because they've been coming in. They're going to come in, which is going to help, just kind of like that cash flow. You're always going to have a lot more cash flow coming in your business. I'm not trying to convince people to go consign things. I'm just saying that your average selling price, I mean, we have been a commodity driven eBay business since day one. Mm-hmm. However, I mean, I guess I would say just kind of the lessons of the last month have shown us that, we really need to rethink that selling price model. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had already started pushing up our average selling price of the things we were selling, the jeans and shoes. We were not sourcing items that would sell for lower amounts. We still have a lot of them in inventory we need to go through and need to burn through them. But man, I'm like, guys, I mean, that average selling price, when you can hit like those top end, that 5% or that 10%, in whatever niche you're talking about, like those top prices, not even top prices, maybe it's just even the average price for that niche. I mean, granted, we're dealing with a lot of new items now. That's like, it's going to blow up your profitability so much, and you're going to spend no more time on it. And I don't think it's going to sell any slower, honestly. I really don't. I could even argue it may sell faster because there's less competition sometimes up there at the top of the price, that top price range.
And, we took, if it's any indicator, we took a big old pile to the new post office, didn't we?
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. And the great thing is now the pile doesn't even have to be that big for it to be a lot of money.
Well, yeah, that's true. It can be a smaller pile.
Yeah. I mean, I want to have I don't want to go crazy with our results, guys, and what we share with you. We will, but I want to have a few months under my belt before I get too crazy with that, because I feel like we're still so new at this model that I don't want to give you all this advice about consignment that honestly, I don't have the knowledge to be able to give you, or the experience, because we're still very neophyte in it. But I know that, when we were watching, those videos on Linda's stuff, there's somebody who's grossing $25 million a year only with consignment. The Real does consignment. I mean, these businesses have figured out that one of the biggest challenges for them is getting product. And now that even though you're going to get sent stuff sometimes it's not consignable, they've dealt with it. And they've come up with business models to move through thousands and thousands of items a month. So, obviously it's a viable model. And I know it's kind of old school and people don't always, think of it the same way as they do going out and sourcing. I know for some people too, I was reading, sourcing is the big thrill of this and the thrill of the hunt and so on. It does nothing for me.
Yeah, we know. We've all covered that before. Old news.
Oh, is it fake news?
No, it's real news. It's just old news.
Karen's miffed because I took her away from photos. This is her photo table. She can't actually shoot any photos right now.
Well, and we talked about that. We get on a roll and then, but this is our water cooler time, right?
Yeah,
it's all good.
That's true.
Okay, take 2. We're starting the show over for Duncan. Adam, catch him up. We really can't start the show over, you big silly.
Oh, yeah, we could do that. All right. So what else we got to talk about? So, yeah, if you guys have any other questions or comments about ASP and so on, please leave them in the chat or leave them after the show post.
Yeah, and smash the like button, mateys.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, and if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing because, we don't only do this live show thing. We've been spending a lot of time processing what's behind and all around us, but we need to work on interview shows again, the pre-recorded stuff. We've got some ideas for that, etc., etc.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so a couple other things are going on. We're going to share with you guys. Should we start with Ben?
Oh, we could.
I have as a second thing, but maybe
he's not here to defend himself.
So, all right. So, do you want me to talk about it? Or you want to talk about it?
Well, so we've tried unsuccessfully to involve my teenage son in the family business.
Teenage apathy. Who knew it was such a thing?
Yeah, and to be honest, he's kind of taken a neat turn where he's wanting to focus more on his sport and school, which he should. So his finite amount of time, if he, continues down the path that he said he's going to try, is going to leave even less time for stuff like this. So we've sort of chronicled the fact that Ben has literally a mountain of sport cards, like thousands of them, that his father had collected over a lifetime, and actually within the last 20 years or so, sold on eBay, collected, traded, etc. So Ben has all these cards, doesn't know anything about them. They're taking up space. We're trying to get him to sell them, to take an interest. And we've just decided that he's just not going to have the time or attention to do so. So we need the space. We don't really have, we sort of pared down everything to must keeps, sentimental or whatever. His mother is working on being a minimalist. So, when all of that kind of came together, it was this perfect storm, right? But we have the things, and I'm looking up because it's in a special place up on the ceiling, but the stuff has to go. And Jason actually suggested maybe we put it in a separate storage unit for a period of time that we paid for. And then when he turns 18, it either becomes his responsibility, or heaven forbid, life lesson comes along, he doesn't pay, then they keep his stuff and one of you guys benefits from a storage auction, right? Well, we didn't end up going that route. So Jason, who I give mass credit for being able to talk the male talk to my son, like, it's amazing. We will say the same thing to my child, and it is received, interpreted, internalized completely different. There's just something about that dynamic. So Jason came up with another solution that I was a little iffy about, but when it was delivered to the boy, he was all about it. And what was your suggestion?
Consignment. I told him that I would list his items that were worth it. Some of them will be bundled. Some of them will be individual, which, by the way, I got an offer for those a minute ago. And I will consign his items for him. I'll take a fee out of them. It's just because that's the way the real world works. The fees to sell it, if it's on eBay, obviously will be taken out of the selling price as well. And whatever's left is his. So, which is actually a good deal because I'm still having to pay the tax burden on that too. I should take a higher fee. But no, but the reality is it takes any guilt or pressure he feels to do it off of him. Mm-hmm. He does make some money from it. I can justify it because I can make, some money on it too, so that I'm not totally diverted from the other parts of our business to the point where I'm doing something that's not profitable. And everybody kind of wins there. Like, we get paid, I get paid, he gets paid, the stuff goes away, we get the space, somebody gets a great set of products, and I think it's a good happy medium.
So I should put in.
I came downstairs and said I'm brilliant, didn't I?
How is that different than any other day when you come downstairs
and you're like,
in the morning?
Why are you brilliant? She did the old
lift
the head up, rolled her eyes to the heavens. Why are you brilliant this time?
Why are you more brilliant today than yesterday? And I should put in a disclaimer here because I can't read the comments, but just in case there's anybody out there that sees this as unfair to the teenage boy, let me tell you the flip side. Like, if there are parents in the chat, back me up here. He is about to be on his own in just over a year. Yeah. And my goal, my job is still in practice to give him some pretty good life skills. And right now, I'm here to tell you, the boy doesn't really have it down with what it's going to cost to be a human and what it's going to take and what is involved in truly adulting. And this sort of morphed from a conversation where, and you're going to be surprised that I'm saying this out loud and in the public, but it came from this conversation, and we were going to make a funny title today, that he wanted me to suddenly start paying for his cell phone because he was going to work less, he was going to study more, he was going to work out more. And I just I'm not it's not mama phone or Obama phone or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to subsidize him and give him handouts so that he can do what he's supposed to do anyway. And I'm hoping it doesn't sound too harsh, but it is what it is. Like, he has to go out realistically into the world and be a productive human. And if I just give him a break on everything, and believe me, the boy gets shuttled around, he's fed, he has a roof on the house. We've joked about putting bows on the light switches and the washing machine and the refrigerator, like those funny commercials you see. But it's really important to me that he doesn't get out there and he's clueless. And I know so many people that were never taught simple economics, simple life. It's going to cost you this. And you made the visual, what happens, Ben? What if your mom wasn't around and your income is here, your expenses are here, and your income now is going to be down here because you're going to work less. And it's noble that you want to be the best rugby player. You want to play for a national team. You want to do all these things, and he can probably do it. But if his income goes down, what needs to happen to his expenses? And I knew with his answer was never, my expenses need to be less.
Right. Yeah. I kept saying, well, what else can you do? And he's like, he never thought about spend less.
And it's not just a Ben teenager thing. I mean, there's people out there that are living life right now that, you know, what are your priorities? Like for Ben, his priorities are, you know, cell phone, Spotify, and whatever that Xbox membership is,
and
right?
saving for a car.
And saving for a car.
And I was like, you think it's expensive now?
Well,
Wait till you get a car.
That's a whole nother conversation. But, you know, like if income is less, then you have to adjust your expenses. And sometimes it involves some pretty harsh sacrifices, right?
Sure. Yeah, and he had been spending some money on some discretionary things that he didn't realize until we showed him in his bank account. It's like, look, you know, you spent half the money you made last month on these things, and you know, they weren't bad things or anything, but it's like, hey, and it's a choice. Like he can spend his money any way he wants, but if you're going to ask somebody to bail you out financially of something, they're going to have some input on your finances.
Right. And the neat thing is, while I was nervous about talking about it with you here, I was even more anxious about talking to my son about it, because he and I, whenever we talk, it's always emotional when it doesn't need to be. But the three of us came away from this conversation that just occurred a couple days ago over the weekend, like, and he's like, okay. And I'm sitting there like, what, no arguing, no conflict? Like, really? Come on, let's start, you know. But he was all right with it.
Yeah.
And now we have a plan to move forward. And a light bulb went off in his head. Like, he's convinced, for one thing, he's convinced that he's not going to have any money left. And we were able to show him that, you know, if he goes to, you know, get coffee one less time a month, or goes to Plato's Closet one less time a month, or, you know, I mean, he can spend his money however, but
right.
he's a little delusional on how much he could actually make or save. Right. And he could actually pay for his phone now, even if he did work less.
Yeah. And he said to me, he said, you know, I can manage my money. I just haven't had to. And I thought, you kind of got to do it before you can really say that. You've got to be able to say, all right, I've got this much coming in and I'm only going to have this much going out. And in his defense, you know, he has this noble idea of saving money for a car because it'll make him more mobile. He can do other things, which is all true. And I think he has, I mean, obviously he wants the normal teenager use of a car too, but he has other reasons, like for work and to be able to go do his stuff in school sometimes and outside of school activities. I mean, it's not just, you know, he doesn't have big high expectations of wanting to, you know, go buy a BMW. I mean, he just wants to buy something basic to get around. And I told him, I said, you know, that's a fine, noble goal. And it's a fine, noble goal to save for, and you can still do that. But the reality is that car is going to cost you more per month than, even if you bought it, it's going to cost you more per month than you make. So, you know, that's just reality. And you have other options between now and that time. And if you're saving money, you still have that money. That money's there. It could come in handy. I'm sure it will for something, you know, even if you don't get said car right away. So don't sweat it. You know, it's just.
Well, and Wes, it's funny. The most brilliant one here is probably Ben, because he's tricked you into consigning this stuff for him.
Yeah, I don't.
But what's neat is we've decided to sell not only Ben's stuff, but some of the other items that we have here in local lots. And we could not have had this conversation with my son on a better day, because almost immediately when you decided to bulk local list some of this stuff, we're getting like a crazy response, not only for the cards, but for some other things that we put out there. So as of right now, we're pro local sales on some stuff. And we've actually got some people coming to look at a bunch. Well, so yeah, so far so
it's
good.
Like too many responses. I went and posted things on like 5 different apps and marketplaces, and I'm wishing I hadn't done that because it is too many responses. I can't even keep up with it all.
Didn't somebody ask how you were going to possibly manage all that?
They did, but I think what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to go back and say, hey, if you would like to come visit them,
some visitation.
We may have to just put the address to the warehouse in and say we will be here at this time.
Yeah,
and show up if you want. I mean, I don't know what else to do at some point. I mean, it's a little risky because then you're not really knowing exactly who it is showing up. But at some point, we're just going to have to sell them and move forward, and we will. Yeah. We'll sell them.
Well, with Ben's business. Sport card pile in particular, like it's thousands. It's probably a pallet plus worth. So whoever comes for that, like there's no way for us to meet you at the local Starbucks and
they gotta
show
come here.
You the cards. So.
They got to come here. I mean, there's no way we're loading all those up and driving them somewhere. And even then, there'd be no way you could even look through them. It'd be easier to look through them here.
Right.
So I don't know, but we just want them gone and just get them gone in a big. And somebody's going to have to spend all the time and money, the energy to go through them, and we get that. And because of that, we're taking a lot lesser value than what they quote unquote intrinsically are probably worth. But we would have to put a lot of time into them. It's not worth that either.
Well, and we're getting asked questions even on them that we can't answer. You know, we don't know what we don't know. So there's that.
Yeah.
And the table that you used to sort of go through some of them this morning again to inventory is the same area that we're kind of using for our new shipping area. Our shipping area is almost totally set up. And I say almost because I had this grand idea that this table would be used for prep and packing and then the bookshelves. But then I ended up using this entire other table because we had, what, six things that I had to pack and ship from here this morning as well.
Room. Yeah.
And I needed more room. So we'll see about that. But probably later in the week, we'll kind of do another. We keep wanting to do like a tour. But it keeps changing. So there's that. But shipping is a lot better than it was. And we've decided
for sure.
Like some pain points for us and problems we need to solve already, we've noticed is we're going to have to get another scale. We're going to have to get, because shouting back and forth, you know, is not going to do it. We're going to have to get another, we're going to have to get another printer. One, we don't have one at home anymore, which is proving to be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
But the one, what is that? The Brother? Yeah, the Epson is mine. But the little Brother laser printer that we use, we're actually going to buy like 2 or 3 of them so that we have 1 at home and 2 as backup. A friend of ours does that.
Yeah.
And it's just brilliant because it's a nice little printer. And we want to be able to have it when we have it. And then that same home and office has the same.
And we still need to get the Dymo printing shipping labels.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that first, actually. That would actually save a lot
That
of
would
paper.
actually would solve the problem, wouldn't it?
Well, it would save a lot of paper in the printer. I mean, we'd use a label, but
yeah, and we're kind of going back and forth, either getting the same Dymo again or getting that double one, right?
Yeah, the double one's nice because you can put 2 different label types in at the same time. But 2 singles are nice as well because then you've got 2 printers. Like if one went down, you would still have one going.
Right. And we don't currently use our Dymo for shipping labels, and we've been wanting to do that. So it's just inertia. We just need to go ahead and just do it, I think. Because we know it'll work. Everybody else, all the other kids are doing it.
All the other kids are doing it.
We just need to suck it. We just need to do it and move on.
So you talked about the shipping box, right? That the post office had it?
No.
Yeah, we found out our local post office last show. We talked about 2 boxes that you could use to package shoes, and you can just make some creases in them basically with a scoring tool. So
Frankenbox it, yeah. It's a 1092 priority mailing box or a 1095 priority mailing box. I'm saying it, enunciating like that because it's not flat rate. It's very important.
Right.
You can't modify a flat rate box.
Right.
Let's be clear. But we went by our new post office, which is not far from here. And not only are they the most friendly people we've ever met in postal history.
Yeah, really nice.
But lo and behold, they have the shoebox that we order if we ever are in a pinch. And they had the 1092. We had already ordered 1095s, but and picked up a couple 1092s while we were there. But there's that. So bonus.
Yeah, the 92 is a nice size. It won't fit the larger Nike boxes, but it will fit a lot of shoe boxes that won't quite fit in the shoe box. It just kind of stinks. You have to have so many freaking different boxes for what should be a simple thing to ship. But it's just the way these manufacturers have made their boxes. They've just made them weird sizes.
Right. And the 1095 will be just big enough. And we did kind of a weird demo on our last show, but it makes a difference. So that 1092 can be modified to fit a lot more than just the USPS, what they call the shoebox. So it might be something that it's going to be a game changer for us. We actually ended up putting some other things in it as well. And it's just been grand to be able to modify that box and move on. So
Hank says it's official. If y'all have the best post office ever, I got to move there. I need that in my life.
Well, we need you to move here anyway. Can you imagine the fun and trouble, all of the things we would get into?
That could be
when
your own channel, your own show.
Really, for real. And we would rock it. You know, we would.
Yeah. What else is going on?
Yeah, I know. It's almost like a contradiction in terms. U.S. Post Office, best ever. No, but these guys are grand. Like, we can walk in there and we don't have to wait in line. We just give them our packages and they're like, okay, we'll scan it.
Yeah, just drop them off right there.
Have a great day.
We got it.
Do you want us to give you a receipt? We're like, no, don't stop what you're doing for us. Just keep as you were. Like, really, it's okay.
And there's never a line. Like,
Never.
if they just knock it out. Like, they're done with it. As opposed to our old post office, which is close to where we live, which is insane inside at all times, all days, all times of days, just nuts, and people just going everywhere, and their stuff's broken, and their hopper's been broken for 6 months or whatever it is. Doesn't even work.
It's like, go ahead.
Don't discount the importance of a good post office.
No, it's huge. Like, so many of us walk in like defensive, like, all right, what's going to be the problem today? What are we going to have to argue about? You know, and it's not like it really kind of took us off guard because it's a very happy place. Really happy place.
Yeah, I agree. We all need some more Just Ask Kaaren shows for when rugby season's over. Oh.
Yep. Well, working on it. And I'm actually going to try to practice and do a rugby Just Ask Kaaren funny thing. But I have to have Ben help me, and he won't do it unless I pay him. But we'll talk about that another time. Yeah. Well, I'll feed him. Like, I'll trade him dinner for, like.
Yeah, like chicken tenders for work
or something.
Yeah. It's all about the food.
but between the rugby and the warehouse and the thingies, there's not been a lot of time for other stuff.
Yeah.
For real.
And we're kind of at a weird place. We've almost gotten through our consigners initial batch of stuff. So we're kind of going to reassess everything. We also have back there, though, some items of our own personal, some stuff for your account that we can list as well, which I can start on. And it's moving along. Like the ASP, guys, is rising, and I'm so happy about that. Like, my average selling price listed is rising too. It's already gone up like $3 or $4 or $5, something like that. Just the listed amounts. So that just pushes up your sale total as well when those things sell, and they do sell. So consider, guys, with your average selling price, whatever it is, I don't know what it is in your business, but if you're down there in that $10 to $20 range, or even $20 to $30 range, consider pushing it up. Consider sourcing more, because when those items sell, I mean, you're going to make so much more on them, and you're not going to spend any more time on them. Can we have daily PROF shows? I told her we should just set a phone up here and just, record a time lapse or just or live or whatever, but it would be so boring. You guys would be like insanely bored. I mean, I know some YouTubers do that, and I love a lot of my YouTube reseller friends, but I don't find any of them interesting enough to watch them for 6 hours. I feel like even, I mean, because they're not doing anything that crazy during that time. Like, it's just sort of random stuff. I mean, we had the 100 listing thing, but that was a very specific goal we went after and targeted. Like, we're doing this, and we talked, and we had like a plan to do it. But if it was just like a random day, people would be bored to death. I'd be bored to death with it, watching me. And I'm pretty interesting.
I thought you were brilliant, not interesting, but we digress.
Oh, that's so funny. Average price goes up, but when consigning, more goes out the door. Not necessarily. I thought that too, KMB Golf, but not necessarily. And that kind of depends on your agreement. But if you push that average selling price up high enough, even though you're getting a lower percentage of the sale than you were, say, like when you're selling it yourself, it still ends up being more dollars per sale. We are making significantly more per item so far than we are on the things that we have been selling. Well,
and with a consignment model, or whatever we're going to end up calling this, because remember, we're not really looking at it as consignment. It's more like inventory management, problem solving. Like, remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
And now I just lost what I was going to say. Never mind. Oh, no, there's one of the biggies for this model is that there's no cash outlay for us.
Right. That's right.
That's kind of a big deal. We're just providing space and selling the things. So
yeah. Well, and I think too that maybe what's different from us, because of the way we approached it, we are able to sell multiples. Like selling multiple items of the same, because let's say like one item, by itself is not worth consigning, but 2 might be. And it's a quantity of 2, so it's 1 listing. You're not spending extra time. And 3 probably certainly is. So when you factor that in, it changes the whole equation. Let's see what else is here. Psst. There was a question Adam had, without giving away details, is your GP higher now with your consignment sales and your regular items? I'm assuming you mean gross profit. Yeah, I think it is. I haven't really broken it out, but yeah, I think it is.
I'm sure there'll be a formula in a spreadsheet.
It's not a formula. It's the same as what we already have, but yeah, it is. Are we able to make more per item than we were, or than we have been with this? Yes, because the average selling price is so much higher. But yes, we are. Got to get that money tree. Yeah. Cha-ching. Yeah.
Aw, that's right. Well, come meet Sue and become her buddy and have lunch with her whenever she comes into town and give her big hugs and she'll give you a money tree.
Yep. All right, guys. So look, that's going to do it for today. We got to get out of here and get back to work. And I hope you do too.
I got to take pictures.
She does. She's been hated. She's like, get this computer off my table. So hope you guys enjoy the show. Check out the description down below for all kinds of helpful links. And consider subscribing as well. You can do that below this video once it posts. And what else can they do, Kaaren?
Smash the like button, mateys.
If you enjoyed the content, which we hope you did.
We hope you did.
Leave us a question or comment. We really do appreciate it. We try to answer all of them best we can. And we will see you guys probably on Wednesday.
Wednesday fun day.
Wednesday middle of the day. All right. All right. So that's going to do it for now. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
This is Just Ask Kaaren
and Prof Sales
saying
good sales to you.